So much is happening in cryptocurrency.
Kind of a peer-to-peer based encryption system, so kind of similar to.
Hi, this is Charles Hoskinson broadcasting live from warm, sunny Colorado. Always warm, always sunny, sometimes Colorado. Today is October 31st.
Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Drink my day, Joe Rogan Podcast, my day, all day.
It's not, probably.
You know, like Larry
in your
Ellison
country.
owns Lanai.
Yeah, you could probably.
Is this it right here?
If you put enough effort into it, you can make a new country.
This is one of the different ones. This is one of the ones that you catch, right? Or is that one?
Yeah, that's the booster. So that's the super heavy booster. So that's one of the boosters. Got 33 engines. In its by version 4 that will have about 10,000 tons of thrust. Right now it's about 8,000 tons of thrust. But that's the largest flying object ever made.
I had to explain to someone. They were going, "Why do they blow up all the time if you're so smart?" Because there was this fucking idiot on television. Some guy was being interviewed, and they were talking about you, and he goes, "Oh, I think he's a fuckwit." And he goes, "He's a fuckwit." And he goes, "Why do you say he's a fuck? Oh, his rockets keep blowing up." And someone said, "Yeah, well, why do his rockets blow?" And I had to explain.
Yeah.
Because it's the only way you find out what the tolerances are. You have to. You have to
explore the corners of the box. So like, so when you do a new rocket development program, you have to do what's called exploring the limits, the corners of the box, where you say it's like worst case this, worst case that, to figure out where the limits are. So you blow up, not admittedly in the development process sometimes it blows up accidentally, but we intentionally subject it to a flight regime that is much worse than what we expect in normal flight, so that when we put people on board or valuable cargo, it doesn't blow up. So for example, for the flight that you saw, we actually deliberately took heat shield tiles off the ship, off of Starship, in some of the worst locations, to say, okay, if we lose a heat shield tile here, is it catastrophic or is it not? And nonetheless, Starship was able to do a soft landing in the Indian Ocean, just west of Australia, which I got there from Texas in 35, 40 minutes type of thing.
So it landed even though you put it through this situation where it has compromised shield.
It had an unusually, we brought it in hot, like in an extra hot trajectory with missing tiles. To see if it would still make it to a soft landing, which it did. Now, I just should point out, there were some holes that were burnt into it, but it was robust enough to land despite having some holes burnt into it. Because it's coming in like a blazing meteor. You can see the real-time video.
Well, tell me the speed again, because the speed was bananas. You were talking about.
Yeah, it's like 17,000 miles an hour. Like 25 times the speed of sound or thereabouts. So. So think about it's like 12 times faster than a bullet from an assault rifle. Bullet from assault rifles are around Mach 2.
And it's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. Or if you compare it to like a bullet from a 45 or 9 mil, which is subsonic, that's it'll be about 30 times faster than a bullet from a handgun.
30 times faster than a bullet from a handgun, and it's the size of a skyscraper.
Yes. Yeah, that's fast.
It's so wild. It's so wild
to
see, man. It's so exciting. The factor is so exciting too, because genuinely, no bullshit, I felt like I was witnessing history. I felt like it was a scene in a movie where someone had expectations, and they what are they doing? They're building rockets, and you go there. And as we were walking through, Jamie, you could speak to this too. Didn't you have the feeling where you're like, oh, this is way bigger than I thought it was. This is huge.
Yeah, it's gigantic.
Fucking crazy.
That's what she said.
The amount of rockets you're making. I don't know if you can back. Giga Chad in the house.
This is way bigger than I thought.
It's a giant metal dick. You're fucking the universe with your giant metal dick. That's what it is.
I mean,
But it's,
it is very big.
and the sheer numbers of them that you guys are making, and then
What if your avocado toast is actually less?
And I was like, okay, interesting.
You got
So
me
I was-
indirectly, so I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad it worked, because all that time I spent with God apparently was well spent. But thanks for sharing that. It means a lot.
Yeah, 'cause it was incredible. It was like unreal. Cause like he was just like Danish, now I kept on fighting it. You know, like everybody fights it because it's like it doesn't meet their priors. And I was like, oh okay. Like I was super big on AI. That's been where I made a lot of my money. But it's literally, I never understood the value. And then he was like, Danish, forget about the fucking idea. Just look at the behavior. You're a financial investor. Just like let's walk through behavior. Now the guy, he walked through the Sharpe ratio and he said, look at any 5-year period. It's been going, it's outperforming other things, and it's uncorrelated. It would be insane for any normal person to look at, forget about the name. Let's call it like finance voodoo. Just like take that out of here. Just look at the behavior. And as a financial investor, you are doing a bad job of not having it in your portfolio. And I was like, that's fair. And so I made it a little bit of portion of my portfolio. I remember it was like 0.5% of my portfolio, and then it just took over. And like now it's like like an insanely large portion of my portfolio. Every time that's the hurdle rate, which I know is hilarious because I hate it when people say those kind of things, but it is the hurdle rate for me right now. Like it has to be. I know it sounds stupid. I know you guys can all make fun of me, but it is the way I'm thinking about it. It's like, it's just like I let go of some PE investments, and very publicly sold some very large investments, and just put it all into Bitcoin. I've started looking at it as not just my alt investment strategy. I don't know if it's a 60-40. I don't know where it ends up. I'm not sure like what the right strategy is because I am interested in other assets. Honestly, because it's boring just to hold something. But just to hold one thing forever. I'm just being honest as an investor, and so like yeah.
No, I think that's just logical. I think that's just smart. Truly, if you are looking at some equity or asset and you don't think it can outperform better than 500% in less than 5 years, let's face it, depending on which month you pick, Bitcoin is up 1,000% since 2020. But let's just say from 2022. If you don't think what you're about to spend money on and get you a return better than 500% in less than 5 years, it's not worth it. It's a waste of time, truly. And I think that's just very logical. That's just rational thinking.
I will say that I'm a little bit. I'm just gonna be honest, so you guys all hear. I'm a little scared of the miners because I feel like a lot of my friends like my friends have lost a lot of money on miners, and so I think like that's why I'm asking so many questions, because it is the interesting area. Mike, it was super helpful to understand that it's not actually anything around the. So I was like, it doesn't even make sense how you can use the same rig. It doesn't even fucking make sense. And I felt like it was all.
I wouldn't even call them miners today, though, to be honest with you. I'd call them data center companies. The reality, like the top ones, like the Irons, the Ciphers, the TeraWolves, like they're not Bitcoin mine. Like, yeah, it's part of their business. They do it, some at a bigger scale. Iron has 50 exahash, which is massive, right? But at the end of the day, it's like eventually it's probably not even going to be a focal.
Oh.
Hello? Yeah, it's me. Listen.
I hear people saying that, they're convinced it's not a 4-year cycle, but then simultaneously expecting October and a 45 CAGR moving forward. So I think, whether you believe in it or not, I don't think you can have both sides of the coin, So, I think it's possible to be in a 10-year bull market with several 20% drawdowns, which are all buying opportunities, by the way, and then, as far as, the positioning for portfolio, I don't know. Mike Alfred, his equity gains this year, to me, prove being more broadly positioned may be a better portfolio, allocation, and then with some discipline of rebalancing those profits into your final store of value, if that's Bitcoin that you're trying to ultimately accumulate for the long term, then because these things are not correlated, and you will get price movements across different narratives that are trending and have momentum, and then can outperform and greater accumulate your Bitcoin if that's your end long store value than you could just by holding it directly. Look at the people who are in Bitcoin just holding this year, and compared to some of the gains from some of these other equities that have really done well. As you rebalance those profits into Bitcoin, you'd have a lot more. So it's interesting.
I don't know, man. I feel like a lot of people go chasing and then they don't end up making as much.
That's true, but if you're not
chasing,
chasing, I think you should be placed into several high quality trending or narratives, or companies, and you don't have to chase. You're there. Tom Lee's granny fund. He's that large cap granny fund he has. It's all equally allocated. He's got 1.5%, 2% for each one of the stocks he has in that portfolio, and then he rebalances that depending on the performance, for each. So you don't have to chase if you're already there. If there's 10 that you are interested in that you believe are good, and then as they profit, you rebalance those profits out and into Bitcoin. You're not chasing at all. You're just actually taking advantage of volatility.
Jamie, you want to hear my new?
Sure.
You want to hear my new 60/40? My 60/40 is 60% Bitcoin, 40% AI. It's my new 60/40. I'm like not even kidding. That's what I've been doing. It's gone crazy. Like I've never such a good portfolio. Now, in some senses, if a risk-off scenario does come, I am incredibly exposed.
And that's the point. And this is I think a really important point. There's the academic theory, which is, and then there's the technicals of did you buy XYZ stock that went from $1 to $10 or $10 or $100, right? Everybody wants to be in those stocks. The question is, how do you behave from a psychology standpoint when things don't go your way? I can give you a specific example. I bought 7 million shares of Cipher.
it's a huge position. From a psychology standpoint, I've been doing this a long time, and I'm up a lot, and so like this $10 million or $20 million swings don't impact me the way they would have, 5 or 10 years ago. But most people don't behave like that. They're not like the guy in Silence of the Lambs, like the psycho serial killer who can just have no feelings about anything, right? They're not sociopaths. Like, they're human beings or emotional animals. And so there's like what you think you would do when you look at a chart in the past. You're like, oh, I would have bought 5 million shares at 1. I would have held it all the way till 20. Well, I can tell you for a fact, I got called an idiot like 150 times over the last 3 years for holding Cypher. And in order to make 80 or $100 million, like, sometimes you have to be called an idiot 100 times. Most people do not have the constitution to handle that type of criticism, let alone to just handle the drawdowns. And so I totally agree with Dinesh that if you can hold Bitcoin and AI stocks for 10 years, you're going to be fine. The problem is you're going to be down a lot, multiple times, which is why I always recommend that people be cautious and have ballast in your portfolio. I buy consumer staples and healthcare and railroads and shit that has fiat yield so that I can pay bills even when everything's falling. The problem is you think you like Bitcoin, you think you like AI, until you get smacked in the face during the next 60 or 80% drawdown. And then, you know what, instead of like realizing that you should have de-risked, like you should have diversified into real estate, you should have bought dividend stocks, you're going to blame people like Denise, you're going to blame people like me, you're going to blame people like Matt, instead of just recognizing that when times are good, like right now, this is not the time to be aggressive. This is actually the time. Like, if you weren't aggressive over the last 3 years, I'm sorry, you're a little late in the cycle. Like, I think the cycle could run for a while, probably long enough to suck you in more. But eventually, to Denisha's point, you're going to have a major drawdown. And if you don't ask yourself now what you're going to do when your stocks go down 60%, you're going to get blown up. I can just predict that for you right now. And to make sure that doesn't happen, what I do as a professional is I'm constantly moving some capital into low multiple, boring. Basically, if anyone I see on the internet is talking about it, I'm not interested. I only want to buy stuff that the whole internet is dumping on. So right now they're saying no one's ever going to drink alcohol again, so I'm buying alcohol stocks. They're saying no, like under a Trump administration, no pharma company's ever going to make a profit again. Great, I'm buying pharma stocks, right? Nobody else in crypto or AI is doing that, which is why in a year or two from now, whenever the next major drawdown is, they're all going to be crying and saying, I can't believe I bought all these stocks at the highs and now I'm down 80%.
By the way, Mike, sorry, on pharma, I have to comment on this. People are not seeing what's coming. There's something really big that's about to happen to the entire pharmaceutical sector. With the PBMs getting under this huge spotlight, a lot of pharmaceutical companies have to, by the way, my startup there is like an indirect investment through one of the VCs whose biggest LP is Eli Lilly. So I'm putting that up there. So I do have like some level of inside information, but I'm not representative of the company. And for example, if you look at Lilly Direct and what Pfizer have been doing, this is quite interesting. And I say that, by the way, knowing that I'm about to get 35 main DMs from people. But with the PBMs becoming weaker, stronger. People don't realize this. With PBMs becoming weaker, and with PBM reform, pharmaceutical companies actually will become.
Healthcare person, right? Like, I don't have a medical degree. I've been buying and selling healthcare related stocks for like 10, 15 years and had a lot of success with it because I focus more on my set of heuristics, which generally over long periods of time guide me to high quality companies. And I wait for moments where everybody dislikes that idea. In fact, I love it when I post an idea on X and people slam and say, didn't you know? And then they post this mainstream narrative that's written in the Wall Street Journal that day. By the time the Wall Street Journal wrote it, it's priced in. So tell me something I don't already know. No one can ever tell me something I don't know. All they're telling me is what I've already heard, which is the reason why the prices are where they're at. So if you want to know why Bristol Myers Squibb and Merck and Novo Nordisk and some of these companies are trading at like decade low multiples, it's because everybody thinks they're bad. Everybody thinks they're bad companies. Everybody thinks no one's going to use their drugs. Everybody thinks there's this huge patent cliff. Some of those things are true. It is true, for example, in the alcohol space that young people drink less alcohol, but that's in the stock prices. So at some point when it turns out that young people are not broke anymore and they can afford to buy a Johnny Walker Blue, they will. right? And the price will go back up. And it's the same story over and over again. Every one of these industries goes through periods of time where it's down, and you can apply any narrative you want after the fact for why it was down or why it was up. All you need to understand as a value investor is when the multiple of the whole company is at a level where it's hard to lose money, and then you let making money take care of itself. So I hope you're right. I'm not betting on any specific narrative. I'm just betting on the fact that the best cure for low multiples is low multiples, right? Because the prices are just so low that at some point, if it just gets less bad, if it gets less worse than people expect, the stock prices go up.
I will also say that tariffs are incredibly bullish for local pharmaceutical companies, U.S.-based pharmaceutical companies. I think there's going to be a big deal that's coming. I actually know a few things, but there's a lot of big deals that are coming for Lilly upfront. So they do comment quite a lot on Lilly specifically, but actually would not bet in Novo right now. Novo's incompetence and poor operations. Anyways, that's too detailed.
No, it's not too detailed, and that's exactly the kind of feedback I like. Right, I want good investors who know the space better to tell me that there's something wrong with it, because you can't get this value. I prefer personally if it goes back down to 45 or 40, so I can buy another 50 or 75,000 shares. I'm at like almost 100,000 shares, but I want to get higher. So I hope.
Did they already report, Mike? Did they already report?
No, I think they have an earnings report coming up. But they just lost their whole board.
Yeah,
they lost the CEO. They
yeah,
fucked
exactly.
up in Canada.
Exactly.
Right. The turnaround opportunity though is if they get the oral side right for Wegovy and Ozempic, right? Like those are good brands.
GLP-1.
Yeah, but Eli Lilly is so close, guys. Like they're so close right now to getting the oral out. I think that's
what the market believes.
It's going to be a
huge. That's what the market believes. That's in the stock price is up for the year, and Novo's down like 40%.
No, I read the actual study. Did you look at the details? It's incredible, dude. Their performance on that study. I can send it to you. It's in the New England Journal. It was incredible.
I've read a couple summaries recently from doctors who think that Novo's oral will actually get approved by the end of the year, and that'll actually equalize some of the competitive dynamics. Everybody thinks Lilly's better. Like.
Good.
Everybody thinks Lilly's better. I'm just saying that out there. Like, I'm not in disagreement, but that's not why I buy stocks. Like, I'm looking for things that are out of favor. I'm looking for things where the consensus might be a little bit off. And I think the hate for Novo is just so extreme that all it has to do is not fuck up as badly as it has for the last year, and the stock will go up 50%.
Mike, like, look at the mistakes. The Hims deal was a giant mistake. To update a patent. I mean, like, this is like insanity.
That CEO
one of the worst
opportunities been turned over by the largest shareholder. I've done a lot of turnarounds, and like what happened before under the previous administration becomes irrelevant. It's relevant only in so much as it creates a buying opportunity. But as a professional investor, you need other people to make mistakes for you to make excess returns. So as I said, I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I just think that's the narrative for why the stock is where it is, and that isn't why I invest. I invest at these low prices, or what I perceive as low prices, because I think they will fuck it up a little bit less over the next 12 months than they did over the last year. And that's where all your excess return comes from. Lilly is widely owned by hedge funds, widely believed in, probably the best pharmaceutical company in the world, fastest grower, best run. Everybody knows that. But the question is, how much better do they need to be at consensus for the stock to go from 800 to 1200? Novo could go from 50 to 100 simply by not sucking. Like if they just suck a little bit next year, the stock will be 70. If they suck a little bit less than a little bit, the stock will be 90. And if they actually do something right, the stock will be 120. Right? So from an asymmetry standpoint, even though everything you're saying is correct, that's not what creates future returns. Future returns come from a change in the consensus view. And so I just look at what the consensus view is, and I ask myself, is it too extreme one way or the other? And again, like the alcohol companies right now, the consensus view is every alcohol company sucks. No one will ever drink again. Alcohol causes cancer. It's bad for you. I mean, it's the same thing about tobacco over the last few years, and you made a shit ton of money doing long tobacco by simply fading that sentiment, recognizing that the whole industry is transitioning from smoke products to smokeless. Basically, nicotine delivery systems, like what Philip Morris is doing. Right? That's been an incredible trade over the last 18 months or 2 years, and they were saying the exact same thing 18 months ago. 24 months ago about Philip Morris as they're saying about Constellation, Anheuser-Busch, Diageo right now, and I would say in the pharma business, companies like Novo and Bristol Myers Squibb, which are deeply out of favor, and for good reason. You can give me the list. I've seen the list. In fact, I've seen dozens more reasons why you shouldn't like Novo. But let's revisit this in 12 months. I'm telling you, like, value investors make money fading exactly this kind of sentiment. So let's just we'll put a pin in it. It doesn't really matter what either of us think. What matters
I will
is the
say,
market.
Mike, I agree with the thought process of buy low, sell high. It's just there's again, I'm not.
Well, I mean, Eli is the definition of high, though. Eli Lilly.
No, it's not. Why is
Yeah,
it?
it is. No, Eli. Would you be shocked to hear that Eli is? It's trading at double the PE of
Yeah, but
Google, of Meta.
Which makes
It's
sense.
trading 40 plus.
There is an
Really?
oral GLP-1 on the way. The only way
You think?
Mike's
You think? Yeah,
absolutely
but
correct is if
you
they can
think
get
Eli Lilly? You think Eli Lilly has a better moat than Mag 7 stocks? Than
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I
I'll
mean-
walk you through how. So let me walk you through so currently on commercial health plans, 4% of people are on GLP-1s. Do you know what percentage of working Americans can be on the GLP-1? 40%. 40. Meet criteria
Right.
based on the clinical criteria.
Right, but
The
that's
number
that
one
pie.
reason-
That
hold
pie
on.
is going to get sliced up into
Assuming.
small pieces between so much competition. You
So
don't
let
think
me walk
anyone
you
else
through
is
it.
going to get any of that? Okay,
Let me walk you through
yes.
it. So the oral GLP-1, which is the oglo, it's a hard, even for me as a doc, it's a hard word to say, but oligopyron, I can't remember the exact name, but the study came out about a year and a half ago, and then they had another study, it's like maybe a few months ago, and both studies showed incredible progress. I think that they're going to be able to get in front of the FDA. The number one reason is cost. The number two reason is injectable. And I think that injectable reason is actually a bigger reason that people know. I think once there's an oral GLP-1, I think it's going to that are choosing not to be on. If it's as easy to take a GLP-1 as it is to take metformin, everyone's going to be on it. And I think it's going to be a
I agree with you, but
blockbuster.
what if the first
I agree with
the first
that, but-
approval is Novo? What if the first oral approval is Novo?
Yes.
Then it's a game. Then
Right.
Novo is
So,
an
but,
incredible.
so what
bet.
if you wake
I
up?
just
What if,
I just can't see.
what if
But
you
that-
wake
but
up
that- and
one
that's the-
morning in
and
the
that's
next
the-
few months and Novo goes from 50 to 70
But
in one day?
like that. As Annie Duke would say, like you're supposed to place bets based on probability. Yes, you can choose the wrong horse and still win the race. But it's very obvious that Eli Lilly has their shit together. They've got multiple studies that are much, much further along. I have not read the Novo study,
I
so I feel
agree.
like
I'm literally agreeing with you,
disqualified
and I'm
that.
just saying the disconnect between our views
Yeah.
is that I understand everything you're saying, and I don't think it'll matter in terms of the relative share price performance. I think there is more upside with less downside in Novo simply because it is so hated over the next 6 months to a year. Right now, I have a bunch.
But there's lower risk in terms of performance capability and
disagree
Lilly.
because the next time there's a huge drawdown, the highest multiple stocks will draw down the most. So,
Yeah, it's actually
Lilly's worth $850 billion. Novo's worth 1.5 trillion. So I'm not sure how that wouldn't fall more.
No, it's not. That's not the correct market cap, Gary. That's
I'm looking at
Danish,
market
it's in
cap right
Danish
now.
kroner probably because it's a Danish company.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, that's not in.
Oh,
That's not in dollars.
well-
Yeah, you said trillion.
Oh, so sorry.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
no
you're
way.
right. It's in. So what's the equivalent? So
It's like
market cap.
it's under $200 billion.
$40.
$40.
I love you, Gary. You're my new best friend.
It's these companies though. Like Altria's worth 94 billion, 11 price to earnings. Bristol
Yeah, but
Myers.
again,
wait.
there's a
Just
lot of
let
things-
the
Novo
audience
Nordisk,
understand the
right?
metrics,
You want to
though.
know?
You guys
Hold on,
talk
you want to
about
know
these
Novo
companies
Nordisk,
can't
right?
fucking fall, but you only talk about one metric. It's not fair to the audience, guys. You're not helping the audience at all. Just coming in here, hey, look at how much money I made. Price to earnings, the entire thing, net income, how much debt, is there DOJ fucking exposure? Like there's a lot of exposure in these companies, just these numbers.
The
And that's
interesting
what
thing
and that's
is-
what we were saying. Like Eli right now is trading at twice the PE as some of the best, most monopolistic, Magnificent Seven. It's trading at a PE of north of 40 when you've got Google and Meta trading just above 20.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's
and
just helpful
Novo-
for me because this is an area I don't really study.
Yeah.
It's interesting for me to start comparing the metrics, but I have to look at all the metrics, right? I can't just look at one company and
Gary,
go
to
compared to
be
two.
fair, if I came in here,
I don't like
if I came in,
PE
if
as
I
a-
came in
Mike,
here and
Mike,
listed
I'm
off-
trying to
earnings is the
actually-
wrong metric
I'm trying
here.
to dumb this
Guys, you have
down
to look
for
at
the
PEG.
audience. So,
Hold on. It's the same crap that people did with Palantir, and I did not invest in Palantir. I actually have personal issues with it, but and moral issues with it. But this is the same mistake that people keep making. You can't look at PE ratios for high growth companies in that way. You have to look at PEG, and PEG right now is running between what 0.9 and 1.1, like whatever it is. It's like really low.
Gosh, I'm saying
They're
you have to look at all the metrics.
Forward earnings matter.
You have to look at all
I
the
agree.
metrics. You can't just
I
pick
agree.
one or two.
But Eli is not a hyper growth company like Palantir. It's not.
Yes, it is. Because literally it is in the penetration phase of the GLP-1 movement. Like guys, like there's still a lot of patients that aren't on
I see that as way more
20 to
competitive.
40% max top line growth business, and that's fine. But I don't know if it justifies the value.
Meanwhile, Novo, to your point, is trading at 220 billion at a 13 PE.
And that's justified by the slowdown because it went from 20% a year to probably 10 to 60%.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
But if they figure out,
I just need to say one thing to Gary. Like, if I came in here and I gave you 1,000 metrics on some esoteric company, like Danish would just mute me. Like, I've already done. I do the work, and I come in here and I talk about stuff that I have studied. If you haven't studied, that's fine. But it's not my obligation to provide every metric to everyone.
Mike, guess what? This is called a conversation. Okay, it's not called a sermon. I'm trying to ask questions that the rest of the audience actually could benefit
you're
from.
poking at somebody too, like saying that you don't like my style. I know you don't like my style.
No, I'm not poking at anyone,
you
son.
followed me for
I asked a question, young man.
I understand you don't like.
I will say that if you look at the PE growth ratio, you gotta. I appreciate you being honest because I'm sure.
What do I gotta do, buddy? What do I have to do?
No, I was saying like. I didn't say you got it. I said it's good that you were being honest.
I ask questions in areas that I don't understand. I don't study the pharma industry. It's an industry I actually couldn't morally invest in anyway. But I don't understand it. And you see, even a guy like me can look at DKK and not think, oh, that's not in US dollars. I was literally trying to have a discussion to help people understand it. People don't even know what the right questions to ask are. It's unfair, you know. We come on here, we swing our dicks around about how rich we are, but we're not actually helping people. Like I make so many mistakes on a regular basis, and I hope I don't sound like I know everything. I know very little about anything, quite frankly. And this is an awesome platform. I like getting together with my friends, talking about opportunities, but I need to understand them. And every time I get pitched this hard by something, it's like, dude, like I'm not going to follow the leader, okay? I don't do that. It's always been a disaster. So I think understanding, like, that's the greatest value one could get, man. And that really raises conviction. And that's what I love about Alfred, is that he really studies the market. He's extremely patient with it. He is truly a value hunter. Okay, like he doesn't care what the crowd's doing. I love that. His ability to educate people, I think, and on some basics. I was attempting to help him help the audience, but clearly I'm an idiot. So
no, that's not what I said. What I was trying to say was like you got to keep doing what you're doing because I think everybody does kind of. We went down this like crazy rabbit hole that may or may not have actually been interesting to the audience because they couldn't follow. But I think Mike would probably say the same thing. I think he was.
Well, I actually fell asleep, if I'm honest, in the sun, and I hear that. I don't know. I heard something about a pharmaceutical company. I'm like, oh wow, this is a weird conversation coming out of the big one.
I know, right? We went off the rails. Sorry. Hey Matt, what do you think? Like, actually, before I go to Matt, Bruce, you're an OG. So, are you a 4-year cycle guy? I actually want to talk to somebody who can like walk me through 4-year cycle.
Hey, Bruce invests in pharmaceutical companies every day. All he does is hunt big pharma that's toxic companies.
Bruce probably now does not like me at all because I said that I invest in pharmaceutical companies. But Bruce, you there, bud? He might have also fallen asleep. Bruce did fall asleep. There you go. Jamie, go ahead.
No, I'm here. Sorry, I couldn't hit the button fast enough. How's it going?
Bruce, are you a 4-year cycle guy?
I think the 4-year cycle is There's a lot to it. I'm always cautious about in general, I don't like to be too firm in beliefs about things like that because they change. And sometimes if everybody believes something, that will literally cause it to change. Because if everybody in a market is betting on a thing being a thing, then there's not an advantage and it might not become a thing because of that. So yeah, beliefs held loosely, but yeah, I mean, I've been through like I don't know, 3 or 4 of them now. So it seems real. I mean, it's definitely, I'm good friends with Michael Turpin. He wrote a pretty good book about it. I think I'm quoted on the back of the book, like one of the book reviewers or whatever. He makes some good points. I mean, he put a lot of effort into it, and he's a smart guy. And he just kind of clarified a lot of wrote out some of the stuff that was obvious and some things that wasn't so obvious about it. So yeah, I think so, but I'd be cautious about it. I wouldn't bet my whole portfolio on it. I kind of think in terms of cycle, and I do with business. We've seen the businesses that I've run, broker dealer, and I had a broker dealer that we sold, and I've got an investment advisor company, and then I've got like the Satoshi Roundtable, for example, which is probably the easiest to see. That's an event that's been around for 13 years. And man, there's a difference between bull market and bear market, because it's kind of an expensive event. And in a bull market, it's just like no problem at all. Like there's just, everybody wants to come, and there's a big waiting list, and we turn people away. And in a bear market, even wealthy people are like, cutting back in some of the companies too. Companies, CEOs, they might be company with $100 million on their balance sheet, but if they just laid off 40 people, they don't feel comfortable having pictures on Instagram of them at an expensive, kind of lavish event. So, even really rich companies and stuff, a bear market will affect us. And so I say, okay, we had a bullish market last roundtable. We're definitely, obviously, having a bull market roundtable this year, and that's like super obvious. We're almost sold out, and the thing isn't until late January. But then I plan, because I learned my lesson the hard way, like whatever 8 years ago and 4.5 years ago, whatever. There was one year where we had like a really big bull market, and then we had booked for the following year. We had like this $2 million dinner, and then we hit a bear market, and that affects us too. We're hodlers. We have Bitcoin on our balance sheet and everything else. So it hurts us. It hurts us psychologically. A lot of our, that was when all the companies were going bankrupt in the contagion issues, and a bunch of people, weren't going because they've got, fires to put out, or like I explained. And then I'm like, oh, we're canceling that $2 million dinner, man. We're gonna have a regular buffet, So yeah, I believe in it. I plan around it. I invest around it. But you got to evaluate the evidence as you go. And to the point earlier, going back half an hour or so about like overall bullishness, I think you got to be bullish because the growth is a thing. Coca-Cola is always going to sell more Coca-Cola. The world grows, things get bigger. There's, asset management firms grow, stocks grow. There's new markets, there's new stuff. That's the nature of the way things are. And even if something really, really fundamental like the nature of debt changed, and we got off the broken, goofy fiat system where they print money from thin air and it artificially inflates PE and everything else and creates all this, that would be catastrophic to the markets. Probably a good thing for other reasons, though. But even if something like that major happened, or a major global war or whatever, the world keeps on ticking. Things keep going. I mean, one of my favorite photos is, I've been like a stockbroker my whole life. My mom was a stockbroker, so as a little kid, I was kind of raised with that. And one of my favorite photos is in the when we had that disastrous, ridiculous invasion of Iraq, one of the stupidest things our country's ever done. And I was over there. I've seen it firsthand. But there's this photo of the Baghdad Stock Exchange after our idiot country went in there and bombed the hell out of everything. We thought that we were going to have everybody waving flags and saying how great it was, and we put in the coalition provisional authority to fix things. But there's this crazy photo of the Baghdad Stock Exchange like 3 days after our invasion, and there's stockbrokers, Iraqi stockbrokers, and they're like writing things on a whiteboard, and because everything had been bombed, and it's like markets make their thing. Markets continue. Here's these people, and they go in and they're like, okay, the stock market's gone, everybody's dead, things are bombed. Guess what? We got to make a freaking market here. Here's a whiteboard, here's some pens. Let's figure it out. What do you got? Oh, I got shares of, I'll something steel. Okay, well, that got bombed. All right, well, I'll give you $1 for them. Okay, what do you got? Oh, I got this. That's not bombed. Okay, how about this guy? Oh, that brokerage went under. And they're making a market right there with ink markers on a whiteboard. And that's the way the world is. Even in the face of war and destruction, no matter how bad things get, COVID tyranny, insanity, stupidity, idiot politicians on all sides, whatever it is, people keep grinding. They go out and do stuff. They invent stuff. They make things. They do things. They make the world better, and they find ways to serve people, and they give them guns or butter or cleaning supplies or pinball machines or Magic the Gathering cards or whatever the world wants. And there's always going to be somebody doing that. And those people are going to make money, and they're going to grind no matter how bad things get, no matter what happens. And that's going to cause growth. So you got to be bullish because that's the world. There's people out there grinding, and you can profit from that by owning the stocks. So that's my 2 cents.
Super helpful, Bruce. I will say for the 4-year cycle, I can't wrap my head around it. Going back to the 4-year cycle, I agree with you on the bullishness.
Have you read Turpin's book? You ought to check it out. Super simple.
I have not read Turpin's book.
It's good. It's sometimes the best investment books are simple. Turpin, he's been a big OG. He's been around the space a long time. He's a smart and successful investor before Bitcoin. He was involved in tech and then he got into Bitcoin. He was known as more of a PR guy. He wasn't known as like he didn't run a big hedge fund or something. He was a very, very successful investor. I think he's a billionaire. But he it's kind of a simple concept. That's what I like about it. And he's like, hey, so it's good. I mean, it's not something that you would say bet everything on, but it's worth kind of thinking about, I think.
Yeah, no, I will check out the 4-year cycle. It's Turpin's book's called 4-year cycle.
I think it's called the Super Cycle.
The Super Cycle. Okay, I'll check it out. I will definitely read it and we'll share it on the space because again, for me, the hard part is I think the world's changing so dramatically right now that old cycles don't really apply, but of course that's what everybody says every single time.
That's a good point. I mean, the world does change, and I've said a lot, even on conversations we've had where, I've talked about the fourth turning. I mean, we're clearly in a fourth turning, and for those who don't know, basically it's just a time of epic change that happens about every century. Also kind of like clockwork, but that's another one. People are like, well, is it exactly every century? I mean, the world isn't exact like that, but there is this thing about a cycle, and we had one 100 years ago, and there was one 100 years before that, and it's influenced by demographics, because people every 4 generations, which is about 100 years, people rebel against their parents. So you had like the really conservative Victorians, and then you had the wild, the flappers and the Roaring 20s. And then you had conservative again, the Bob Hope generation. And then you had the boomers who don't seem like it now, but they were anti-establishment. They were burning buildings and protesting the Vietnam War and having Woodstock. And they revolutionized music and entertainment and stuff. And unfortunately now they're part of the establishment. And then their kids rebel against them. And with that comes institutions. Institutions mature and rise and fall. So you have like these old antiquated powers like CNN and the New York Times and the Davos Economic Forum, and that gets replaced by Joe Rogan and Bitcoin Twitter, and the world does change. So there's cycles like that. But because we're in a fourth turning, you're right. You got to kind of throw everything out the window, including a fourth turning itself, because the world's in chaos and it's weird and we don't know what's going to happen. I wouldn't bet on anything because unfortunately, there's always a chance of like major global war. That does happen in these kind of cycles. Thank God it hasn't happened yet, but it could happen very, very quickly. Look how fast.
I guess we're bombing Venezuela.
So these things can go out of. I mean, everybody knows that the stupid Archduke Franz Ferdinand set off the powder keg that caused World War I. Who the heck is Franz Ferdinand? Just only people who know who he is, history nerds. and people taking their 11th grade SATs or whatever. So anything can cause it. Look how and it's weird because the books that predicted a fourth turning said it was going to happen around 2019, 2020. They didn't know why. They didn't know what it would be. And sure enough, the COVID thing was like the pin that popped the bubble. We had a very, very bad flu year in the early 80s, very comparable to COVID, but nobody cared because everything was really strong and the market was strong, and the government didn't have that ability to shut everything down and do the tyranny, and there's just a whole bunch of other factors. But when the world gets weak and weird and wonky and goofy, anything can happen. So we're in this weird situation where everything's in turmoil and old powers are falling and new powers are falling, and especially the fundamental stuff like how money works, and what banks are, and what the economy is, and who is powerful in the world. When those things change, you can have a Franz Ferdinand situation. So some little thing like Venezuela, or a situation in the Middle East, or any number of 1,000 other things, we could have tension with.
Or the rise of India.
Something in.
The rise of India.
Yeah, sure. India.
Have you guys heard of
Taiwan?
work?
Any of these things can just cause a cascade that changes the whole world overnight. We could wake up in a month with a very, very, very different world, just like we did in March and April of 2020, where like all of a sudden the whole world shut down. And we could, these wars usually happen really fast. It's like, oh, you wake up in the morning, it's like, oh, holy shit, there was a strike on Taiwan and the U.S. intervened and the Chinese sunk a U.S. battleship. Okay, we're on. That's it. That's all you got to do is wake up to that news and everything is changed.
It's interesting because all we're seeing right now is global, I know people don't like this, but global cooperation. Like, look at China and the U.S. We're doing all right.
Let's hope.
I know people thought it was going to be like the fucking...
Let's hope the revolution is peaceful. How awesome would that be?
Yeah. Like literally, like that's kind of what's happening, right? Like we're seeing unipolar become multipolar, which is super interesting, but without a gunshot. And I think that's where we are right now, is that nobody's gonna notice it because they're gonna continue to sink into idiocracy. It's fascinating. I have to say, like, today's conversation has been, honestly, Bruce, that was a great end of today's conversation. Because that's exactly like where we're at, and I hope everybody takes this time on a Saturday to go enjoy it with your families and with your loved ones, and go have some fun, guys. And probably we'll see you tomorrow, but I don't have a show, so
hey, Donish,
I'll see you when I see you.
Donish, I fell asleep in the sun, man, so my skin probably looks even worse today.
Bro, I gotta tell you,
you
gotta stay away from that sun unless you're ready. But I'm happy. See you guys. Everybody
just remember that part of me that's white.
And that was really cool, really nice. I liked it. So much you can benefit from this show.
When the closest civilians are this far back in the perimeter, okay? Huh? Hey, Andrew Colbert, you listening? Were people still evil back here? Huh? Were people still evil? Right? Were they still stealing hats back here? I'm just kind of curious. Were they stealing hats? That's a long reach, man. I've got a long reach. I don't know what they say, but it ain't that long. Damn, bro. Fucking bullshit, dude. These people are fucking liars. They're liars. They're gaslighters, and they are the evil, right? They are the evil to which they speak of. Yeah, that's what I think. That's
100%. 100%. I have to tell you, this is a conspiracy, and you are theorizing. So welcome to the club.
I'm not theorizing.
Well, we are.
I just showed you evidence.
Yes, but we were trying to think of what they're thinking, like why they would do that and all of that. I'm just making a joke out of it. But honestly, why are they guarding it now? Since it's all been completely disrupted, updated, and there's no crime scene anymore. Why are they protecting it now?
That's a great question.
Can I jump in real quick, you guys?
Is still active. technically the investigation is still active. I think that's what we're noticing, is that's the only place you can't go. Like, there you can pretty much get right up on the roof where they're telling you the shot was taken, but for some reason where the cars were parked, and obviously the courtyard, which they've renovated, you can't go there. So I think it's worth noting. But go ahead. You were right.
Hey. Yeah, go ahead, Colonel.
It was Thinker.
Or was it Thinker?
Hey,
Go ahead, Thinker. I'm sorry, I thought it was
Hey
Colonel.
guys, I'm sorry. I'm at work, so I got to make it quick. So I'm just gonna ask real quick. I'm somebody who's a skeptic who thinks that there was an explosive under his shirt. So that explains to me why they removed the ground underneath him. Because the RDX powder would have sank down, and they'd have to remove that because it's very detectable.
It didn't burn the shirt, bro. I did not burn the shirt or even fray the shirt. I don't buy it. I don't buy that. Sorry.
I mean, there's a huge puff of air coming up from under his shirt. So what I'm trying to ask is this. There was a 33-mile-an-hour wind coming from the north of that on that day. So if there was a plume of smoke of anything used under his shirt, then that plume would have gotten blown into a porous surface. And if it's a military-grade explosive, it's still detectable for up to 6 months.
There's no
It does
wind
degrade
going
over time.
left or right here, though. The wind's only coming through the tunnel. And he was in a tent where there was a cover behind. There's no wind flow right there.
All right. Well, I was just wondering if you wanted to grab a grass sample or something.
A grass sample?
Well, I mean, they have
grass.
swab kits. You know, they have swab kits that are pretty.
The grass
easy
is gone. This is where the grass was. What do you mean? What grass? There's no grass there.
Any porous surface can be tested. Like even the brick where the shooter was, there would be a plume of gunpowder that
You can't
would
get
have
to
been
where the
embedded
shooter
into
was,
the
and
brick.
it was the shooter was up there, and it's blocked. It's fenced off. There's no access up there. And as you can see,
I'm not
they're watching me like a
afraid
hawk.
of being told that you're in trouble. I'll go up there. I don't care.
Okay, well, you go up there. I'm not going to break the law because they're itching to do something to me. I already climbed up there like I should have. I don't see there's no sign. You know, they have thoroughly. It looks like they may have even bleached it because of the white, right? It looks like they have taken a power washer, probably with a little bit of a bleach, and power scrubbed the shit out of this. And that's why it looks like rust, right? That's why it looks corroded.
No idea why I like conspiracy theories, but this one kind of seemed like it was making a sense. But also, the first one was some really cool stocks that they were talking about, and I think the Mag 7, especially the AI, was what kept the markets going this time. And the pharmaceuticals, well, they were not having fun because of the few speeches that the president gave you a while ago. So what I am thinking is pharmaceuticals. Well, if 2026 is a bear market, everything is gonna go down and become more cheaper. But pharmaceuticals and the stocks that are already suppressed, like 60s, they're really down. How will they perform, and how much would they? Like if you buy if it's already 70% down, and you buy it now, and we only have less than 60 days. I mean, what are you expecting from that? That's the question. That's the good question. So what can we expect from the markets to do 60 days? Especially the traditional markets. Especially a sector that isn't getting any positive remarks from the president or any of the market holders. Anyways, what I'm saying is, watch out. Do not go into a lot of stocks that can dip really bad, that can go really bad. So I'm gonna walk into Walmart, check a few things, but enjoy your Saturday, guys.